My name is Petra Ruggiero. I am part of the administrative team for the BeautifySJ. There's also Alex Niles, who is the program officer. He's the lead on this program. CJ Ryan, who is our program manager. And then Ken, where's Ken? Ken, correct me if I mispronounce this, but Morset. Okay, so we are the team that will be supporting you through this application process. We're here today to really provide you information on the application to help guide you through this process. We're going to talk today about some changes. You'll know, of course, the change of the name of the program. We'll talk a little bit about the differences and why from CAP to BeautifySJ. But really, this is the team. We're here today. We're also here to answer questions. We'll go through all the requirements for the application process. We'll also take you through the web grants and how, if you need to register, we'll go through filling out the application today. How many are here that are new to this program, that have not applied previously?
What program?
Okay.
We're all new to this program.
New to even CAP. You've never applied for CAP. Of course, everyone's new to Beautify. Who's new to CAP? Or didn't previously apply for CAP? Okay. Thank you. So, welcome again. This is, again, the purpose of the application is to take you through the grant application process, the requirements. Again, we're the team that's going to be here to support you. We want to go through the different components of the grant program. And then we just want you to have we want you to walk away with having a really good understanding of requirements and how to successfully submit an application. Okay? We'll take you also through the timeline. So really quick, let's go through today what we're going to cover the agenda. So again, we're going to go through an overview of the BeautifySJ program and the application requirements. We'll have time for applicant Q&A. And then Alice will take us through a web grants overview on how to apply for web grants. So Ken has volunteered to record just the content piece, so he'll be recording all the way up until we get to the Q&A. And then we'll be recording the Q&A just so we can make sure we accurately capture all the questions. We're going to do our best to respond to all of your questions today. If we may need to go back just to make sure we're giving you the correct responses. And if we're not able to get to all the questions, we will definitely include all questions and responses from today's workshop on web grants on, what's the date here? We're posting today's question and answers on September 1st on web grants, okay? So we have some 3x5 cards that have been handed out. If you need some, there's some on the back table. We're asking that you write all of your questions down, and then we'll have the Q&A period at 6:20, okay? So right now I want to go ahead and introduce CJ Ryan, who will talk a little bit about the background of the program, the intent, and some of the changes from CAP over to BeautifySJ.
So as Petra said, my name is CJ. I'm the program manager for the Strategic Partnerships Unit. We work in at City Hall in the admin division. We do all of the grant making for Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services. I just have to say I am so excited to see so many of you here today. I think this is going to be a great program, and I'm excited that we can all work on this together. So Beautify San Jose, some of you may have heard this slogan before, seen the hashtag before. Beautify San Jose is part of a larger beautification campaign to really make San Jose a cleaner, safer, more vibrant city. A number of different departments in the city are working on this, our Environmental Services Department, the Department of Transportation. So this is really one piece of a larger strategy. The way this came about and the reason it was integrated into the reason that CAP grant was integrated into this and they were joined together is that we realized in order to do beautification throughout the city, we really need to leverage the strength of our city, and that's our residents. You all know best what are the things in your neighborhood that need to be beautified and know best how to put our collective power together in order to improve San Jose. And we saw that we were already starting to do this through our CAP program by funding neighborhood organizations and building the backbone of the neighborhood organizations. Through the budget message, what City Council did is they said, you know what, we've got this ongoing funding, $100,000 every year for these CAP grants. Let's expand it. They added $200,000 this year, and they said expand the scope so that now not only are the things that CAP funds included, but we also want to start funding beautification projects. And so that's what we have for you today. And when you look at the intent of the beautification program, we've really got these 5 points. First is that we're going to engage with our neighbors. We want to reduce the trash, the graffiti, other sources of light in our city, because it's really a question of quality of life. We want to make sure that this program is helping organize the neighborhood beautification projects that are going to improve the neighborhood conditions, and that we're going to do this all together collectively. We're going to help fund organizations and groups that will organize and conduct activities that address issues that are important to the neighborhood quality of life. And that's going to vary from neighborhood to neighborhood as far as exactly what that means. And then we also want to fund activities that are going to be building or strengthening the neighborhood organization, because we know that some infrastructure is necessary in order to help make these other projects happen. So as we go through today, Petra will be going through the application process, exactly what you'll need to do, take down any questions that you have, and I'm looking forward to working with you all as we go through.
So, eligibility, in order to be eligible to apply for this grant, really is the same as the previous application process. You have to be a neighborhood association, property owner association, or a tenant association with a record of resident participation that operates free of charge, working to improve the neighborhood. You also have to have an open bank account in the name of the association. And lastly, provide a list of board members with home addresses and a copy of the bylaws or minutes of the last meeting with the application. Organizations without active board members will be deemed to be an inactive organization and not eligible for a BeautifySJ grant. Okay, so that's the eligibility. So here's the timeline. So we released this funding opportunity on August 18th through web grants. Today, of course, optional pre-application workshop. You can still apply if you are not in attendance today. Workshop Q&A responses. So any questions that we receive today, we will be posting the questions and the responses on web grants on September 1st. We will also have another round of questions. So any questions that we receive after today, well, you have until September 10th to submit any additional questions after today. And then those questions and responses will be posted to web grants on September 15th. Applications are due in web grants on September 21st by 4 o'clock. And Alex, when he takes you through web grants, he'll kind of explain what happens after 4. I mean, the system will not allow any other applications after 4. Agency documentation is due in web grants on the same day as your application. Grant award announcements will happen October 13th. We will send those out to the contact on the application. And then start of services, which we will enter into an MOU with all those associations that are awarded, beginning on October 14th. Okay? So that's our timeline. This is also included in the application. It's also posted as an attachment, right, Alex, in web grants. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Alex, who's going to talk a little bit more about the grant specifications.
All right. Brief housekeeping for those who don't know. If you go straight through these doors, past the desk, turn right, men's room on the left, ladies' room on the right, at the end of the hall. So in case you need that. We need reports from folks, progress of your various projects throughout the year. So we're going to ask you to submit a mid-year report. Once you're funded association. We'll ask you to provide us a mid-year report, kind of a halfway check-in, how things are going, due April 30th, and then a final report at the end of the program year, end of next year, a year from now, tell us how the project went for the entire year. Grants range 300 to 5,000, anywhere in between. And with your budget, we want you to kind of share in the cost of your entire program. We don't expect a grant alone to be your program. We're going to want you to match that up to 50% of what your grant is. And we try to help you out. It doesn't have to be all cash. It can be in kind. We can use volunteer labor as well, you know, rated at $23.50 an hour, adding up to the half of whatever it is that you're awarded. So we try to give you some variety in how it is that you too contribute to your overall program. Again, mid-year and final report. The final report, description of activities obviously you receive, show us, that services that you conducted were actually eligible services, like photos. Photos are always good. We have a variety of places we love to post photos about great things going on in the neighborhoods. You each have an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, that will kind of help guide us through the year, what you're going to do, what you'll be paid, a little more detail in there. And again, we want you to spend everything that you get from us, but if you don't, if for some reason some aspect of the grant doesn't get completed, or the project doesn't get completed, we need you to return those funds to the city. But we hope that that's not the case. We hope you have great plans and that you follow through, or able to follow through on all of them, aren't any kind of hiccups, and you can spend them. So again, along with the submission of your application, we want you to tell us who your board members are, including home addresses, and we're also going to want to see your bylaws. Those are required, only 2 required documents along with your application that you have to give us at the time you apply. So, deadline is 21st at 4 o'clock. That's a hard deadline. You try to press submit at 4:01, it will not go through. So if you do submit earlier than the 21st, which is completely fine, if you have that time and are able to do so, submit these items at that time as well. If you need all the way up until the 21st, because maybe you don't have one of these completed, you certainly have till 21st at 4 o'clock, though. It's a hard deadline. So we have a variety of categories here. Some of these may look familiar, but some may be new, familiar to you if you've been a CAP grant recipient previously. But they run the gamut, and this is not all inclusive. There may be a project that you submit a proposal for that we love that maybe doesn't fit perfectly in one of these 8, which can be here at Dr. Park, landscaping, gardening spots, neighborhood cleanups, neighborhood events, neighborhood organization support of the garden, one-day volunteer events. If there's something else that really grabs us and we think it fits under Beautify San Jose, we'll consider it. So, so we have up here includes, but it is not limited to. And by the way, I also want to note that everything that we're giving you today in this brief presentation is in the general information requirements, which is one of the handouts we gave you. So you're not going to walk away from here without having heard something that you can also later on cite on your own with the handout that you have, which is also in WebGrants if you don't have it and you want to, if you lost it, you want to download another one, it's in the system there, you can get that. Okay. These are the questions that we're going to be asking you. There are 4 simple short questions. Well, this one isn't so short, it's 5-parter. But if you have been a CAP grant recipient in the past, they should look pretty familiar to you. I'll read it. It's a lot, but I'll read it. Please describe in detail the activities in our project you propose. In your response, be sure to include what you see as the most important needs and issues that you're going to address. What categories will your project fall under of the 8 that you showed you previously? Justify your project. What the impact is going to be? Why is it that we should fund your neighborhood-based project? Existing conditions of property, specific need, and proposed beautification effort, and the roles your group members play in the creation of the projects and goals. Number 2, provide details on how the proposed activities will be implemented, their viability, and the role the community will have to successfully complete the project. We'd love to see so many faces here, and we'd love to see likewise many of your neighborhood community folks involved in the project. Describe how you will measure the outcome of the proposed activities. For example, detail how you will document and improve neighborhood conditions. Survey, sign-in sheets, before and after pictures. Tell us how it is that you will demonstrate to us who won't be there living in your neighborhood, to be there every day, seeing the progress, that you're delivering on what you're going to tell us that you're going to deliver. And mid-year report is one way to do that. Obviously, the final report will be that way. But show us, explain to us how you're going to show that progress throughout the year. And then the last is, tell us about some success your group has achieved and how it's helped build your group and make your neighborhood stronger. Tell us what you've done before that should have us looking at you and say, yeah, they'll deliver on what it is that you propose here, you know. Describe an event and activity your group sponsored, how many participants were involved, what happened, what are the great things. Did you get a write-up in the Mercury News or Sal Pizarro talk you up somehow, you know, some other place, you know, something that tells us qualitatively what you brought to the table that really wow us and say, wow, we got to give them a grant, you know. Share that with us. We want to know. Okay. And how we weight these, the budget, not as much as the responses to those 4 questions. And of course, the proposal response is in by 4 p.m. on the 21st. You fit the category, you know, one of those 2 eligible applicants. And then we move you on and start rating your proposal. Okay. Over 30 points. So I'm going to give a very brief sort of web grants tutorial. How many of you are not yet registered in web grants? I was hoping to see no hands up, but that's 5 or 6 is better than. Please register as soon as possible if you intend to apply. It could take up to a couple of days when we're really slow to get your registration in and official. And we don't want you running up on a day or 2 before the deadline and you haven't registered and you don't even get back the response yet. Because we get a rush of registration, sometimes it gets slowed down in responding and getting your registration in. So I encourage you to please register sooner rather than later. There is the address to do so. Okay.
Excuse me, I tried like 3 times and it told me I couldn't get in. So and I thought, well, I'm doing it wrong, so I went I went really as slow as I could.
You're having trouble just registering?
Yeah, I couldn't get in.
He's the guy.
My email address will be on there too, but we don't want you struggling with that. So make sure you get hold of me.
Okay.
And I'll get you with my okay. And there's the web address. If you type it in like that, you should be able to get in and start to log in. Your question?
Yeah, let's do some Q&A now before we get into.
Okay, so I guess we're going to take some questions prior to the little simulation. Again, we love hands up, but if you can write it down as well. If you want to then read to me what you asked and get your card, that's fine. But we definitely want a question and a card. So just start a new application. It behooves you to not at all look at last year's. Let's just go right from the beginning or so. I'm going to walk you through pretty quickly what it will look like for you when you're in web grants. I'm actually going to walk you through all the way from the very beginning once you register in. So let's log out here. I'll go in myself. So what you will do is go in as yourself and put in your user ID. Okay. And then you'll put in your password. Hit login. All right, and this is what you should see when you get in. You should have a listing of different funding opportunities, and the one you want to look for obviously is Beautify. You may also have an existing application you want to go back in and complete if you logged in the first time, started one, didn't finish it, and that's when you would come here instead. But I'm going to start a new one, so we're going to go find Beautify. So we'll click funding opportunities. Okay. We're going to look for cycle 1 of Beautify San Jose. Click on that. All right. And we're going to use Petra's application, which she's already getting. All right. So, how do you get to those questions to answer we had earlier? You want to click on this narrative link to the left here, okay? Click on there. And here's where you'll see the questions this way. Now, how do you get in to start answering these? what you need to do is go up top here to the right and click on this edit button here, okay? You click that. And so now boxes will open up here for you to type in. Okay, I'll just start typing stuff in here. And responding to A, B, C, D in that case.
Yep.
And then further down is the second question. There's a box there. Okay. They have limits here for the number of characters, space-wise, so 2,500 for question number 2, and so on.
Alex,
Okay.
can you talk about the ghost characters? And when you cut and paste?
How do I put this? WebGrants is not exactly like Microsoft Word as far as, we do encourage you, if you want to write up a response to a question first in Word and then copy and paste it in one time, if you're absolutely certain that that's the response you're going to go with, you're not going to make any more changes, you made all your edits in Word, you're satisfied with it. If you copy it one time, put it into this space in here, paste it 4 times, one for each question, and then once you're done, you go up here and you'll hit the save button. There it is, you'll hit your save. If you do it that way, you're fine. Now, here's where you'll run into some difficulty. If you get in here prior to pressing save, after you've copied and pasted 4 times for 4 questions, and if you saw something up question 2 here, missed it, I really need to do some edits in here. There's the potential you'll run up against what we call ghost characters. WebGrants is very strict about the amount of characters that it will allow in the responses. When we have 2,500 in here or 5,000, whatever the situation is, it counts as a character things that aren't necessarily counted in Microsoft Word. So if you get into here and start, word processing, if you will, it could throw you off, and what you'll see in here will be one thing, but what it'll spit out when we get it and start to put it before evaluators and they're reading your proposal could be something else. In other words, there could be some other characters that have been added in such that the words at the end might get cut off. So I just would encourage you to do all of your work in Word first, and then copy and paste it the one time and don't do any editing here. What you'd be better off doing is if you see something wrong here, go back to your Word document that you hopefully had saved, make the changes there, okay? Then copy and paste that in, overriding everything else in there. Now, that too could, again...
You have to delete the other part first?
I would not do that. I would just I would control all and then just copy and paste over everything in there. But even that, again, could be fraught with some issues. So my strong advice is get it right the very first time. Make sure it's pristine. It's exactly what you want. It's 2,500 or less, depending on whatever the question might be, 1,000 or less for this next question. And in Word, where 1,000 would be the periods, commas, all the letters, the spaces, the whole everything. Get it all right and then put it in one time. Get all of them in and then do your save up right there. Are these going to be questions that you're going to write down for me too?
No, these are just specific to this. Are you able to, let's say, and this is not doing the Word things, just writing it on WebGrants, are you able to, write your proposal and answer the questions and save and come back at a later time and keep editing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can. And I don't want to paint the wrong picture that you can't just do your proposal in here as you're going along. You can. I would just be cautious about, say in this case here, the one we have up here, outcome measures, it says limited to 1,000 characters. Be really, really careful, especially if you're going to make some edits, some changes in there that you're below that 1,000 character limit. Maybe give yourself some space so that if these ghost characters that Petra referenced find their way in somehow, some way, you're still within that limit. All of your response will be captured in there. So, but yeah, you can do that. And you can come back. It's not a problem. We don't expect you to, in one sitting, be able to do it if you're not able to.
Yeah, I've used this before, and I've gone over 1,000 or whatever, and it doesn't say, error, blah, 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 cut off, and it looks like it's fine. But does it actually, when the reviewers see it, could it be chopped out?
Can you speak up?
The question was, this gentleman has been in web grants before and actually says he exceeded the character limit. But he's asking if he did that on the reviewer's end, was the reviewer able to see the full response? I didn't see it, I don't know, I can't speak to that. All I would say is I would honor these limits as much as possible. I don't know that it tells you if you've gone over the limit. It probably will not. But try to be mindful of that limit because less is more, I would say. Also, we don't want you to write a book for your grant. Ken?
I can tell you from personal experience. If you go over the top, I can tell you from personal experience. From ones I've reviewed because of other things, and ones I've written because of other things, that if you go over the limit and it doesn't tell you, and you print it, and you print out a copy for yourself, okay, you will notice it just cuts you off. It'll just stop in the middle, stop at the last character. So it is not, and I want to reiterate Alex's point. More is not better. More is only better if it's quality. More does not impress anybody. Be 2 points.
Yes.
So there's a way of printing it out so you know what's going in. I mean, so we're, you know what I
Yes.
mean? So if we print it, that's what you guys will see, so we can test it.
Yes.
before we- Okay.
Yeah, after you submit, right there, you can
Yes.
print to a PDF.
Oh,
Is
after
there,
you
is there a
submit?
preview function?
Yeah, after you submit, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's not any good.
That's a good question. Let me go back here because I'm going to go back here and I want to show you quickly before we run out of time with
While
the
Alex is
budget.
doing that, I would encourage you to start as early as possible.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. Because we are available for technical assistance. If you're having problems with not getting your response in the text box, if something happens with web grants, give us a call. We're there to help you.
Who's
But-
us?
Who's us?
I'm sorry, Alex and myself. Yes.
Who's
For web
myself?
grants. Alex Petra, Figueroa, yeah. I'll have my cards available. And we'll have our contact information at the end of the application of the
Let me show you-
presentation.
let me show you
But we do not wait until the very last minute, up until that day. Please contact us in advance. Alex, do you have the?
Yes, you can. I'll add. This gentleman asked, can you cancel an application and resubmit? You can withdraw an application prior to submitting it and then start over. Yes. Really quickly, let me show you. The last piece here will be a budget piece. So you click on the budget in the application forms. It will take you here. All right. And how will you add to this and tell us the information on your budget, your line items, and various places that you intend to spend the grant. So you'll go up here and you'll click the add button. And when you do that, okay, then you'll see these areas. Wherever there's a red asterisk, that means you must give us a response, for sure. All right, so you'll tell us the name of the activity. Here's where the prioritization occurs. You notice that's not required, but for those of you who would like to give a greater preference to this activity versus one or two others that you might want to submit under, here's where you tell us that, okay? And we'll take that into consideration, I presume, during the review process. The projected attendance, you'll want to put that in, 500. Your total grant request, 3,000. So therefore, your matching funds would have to be at least half of that. Let's just say 1,500. It could be more, certainly. Take more match if that's what you like, but we only ask for half of that. And then tell us the various ways that you want to achieve that match through a donation. This is one of those where you can control hold and select any number of these or all of these and tell us that you'll achieve your match through one or more of these various ways. And you see how you can just hit the control and then click key and you can potentially do all of them or none of them or what you want. Okay, and once all that's
Those are the only choices.
yes, there are 5 ways to provide a match, the ones that are shown right here. If you have a different one, other than this, I don't know, this seems like it would be ways to do it. All right, once you've done that, you would go up here and you'll save your work. You'll only be able to save once you see the note here, you completed all the required fields, okay? That's a good catch there. Got to give it a name, all right? So just put something there. So, web grants, we'll talk to you like that and let you know when you're able to pass go and continue on, all right? So now I should be able to save that. All right. And then your mark is complete and so on, okay? So this is what you'll see when you get in. It's pretty straightforward. You'll need to mark as complete right here. You see this? When you're done with this budget section, okay, to be able to then proceed to completing another section. You see this little check here means that you've now completed the budget part. You want to complete your questions, you'll have to go back into the narrative, finish your responses there and here, okay, and then mark is complete with those, all right? Okay, and then when you have all the important application parts completed, then you can do your submission, all right? That's when you'll be able to submit. It won't let you submit if you don't have all of the information in, board of directors, proof of event, all these other things, okay? So that's a quick little tutorial. If you're running into issues, I encourage you to also, like Petra said, start earlier rather than later. Come back to it if you need more information, but at least get started. It's going to be a lot of to try to get through on the day of. If you're running into something, we certainly will be available there. I'm clearing my afternoon on that day I always have on the final submission day of a grant, so I can be available for folks who are struggling with something that's technical. It's not their fault. No fault of their own. They're struggling with it, and we can work it out so that you can get your application in by 4 o'clock on the 21st. So, but please, if you've started early, let me know what you're struggling with, and let me see what technical assistance I can get to you so you can get your submission in. Right? And then,
Is there any other questions? Feel free to give the questions to either me or Alex, and we're going to make sure that we include all the questions and responses from today. We weren't able to answer all of your questions, but we will definitely go back. We'll talk to the program staff that have been previously on this project. We want to make sure we're giving you an accurate response, okay? To give you enough information to go out and successfully submit your application. Again, questions from today will be posted on Web Grants on September 1st. And then you'll have other opportunities. Once you see those responses, if you have additional questions, feel free to submit them directly to Alex Niles. He will provide his email address. I have business cards as well.
It's in there.
And so if you have additional questions, once you see the questions from today and the responses, again, feel free to send those questions. We will post a second round on Web Grants, okay?